Okay, let's unpack this. Life throws, well, a ton at us, right?
Absolutely. Information overload is real.
And trying to sort through all the advice, all the information out there, just to figure out how to actually deal with the emotional ups and downs. I mean, it can feel like another layer of chaos itself. You just want the core ideas, the stuff that's truly useful,
Yeah.
without getting completely swamped.
Yeah, cutting through the noise.
That's exactly the mission for this deep dive.
And we've got some really fascinating material to work with today. Sources that touch on, well, timeless wisdom like Stoicism,
Right.
and blend it with more modern concepts like Nassim Taleb's antifragility. And they also dig into the psychology of sort of our own internal emotional thermostat, how that works.
Okay, so our mission is to pull these threads together. See how these different perspectives, they're not just theories, right?
Not at all.
But they offer real practical insights for navigating emotions, building resilience, finding stability, maybe even, I don't know, growth.
Yeah.
Smack dab in the middle of life's inevitable storms.
Exactly. And a great place the sources start is with a concept you might have heard of in psychology, hedonic adaptation,
Yeah.
sometimes called the happiness set point.
Oh.
Think of it like your brain's built-in rubber band for feelings.
Or a rubber band.
Yeah, whether something wonderful happens or something terrible, your emotions tend to, eventually snap back to a baseline level. It's actually a pretty primal survival mechanism, really, designed to keep us from getting stuck in extremes, emotionally speaking.
So it's this automatic recalibration system,
Yeah.
like built in.
Pretty much, yeah.
But the question the sources immediately raise is,
Yeah.
can we actually work with this?
Right.
Can we use deliberate practice to somehow influence this mechanism?
Right, can we nudge it?
Could we maybe shorten the duration of pain when things are tough?
Yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, extend the linger of joy when things are good? And what does something like Stoicism, this really ancient philosophy, what does it offer when it comes to dealing with this built-in emotional pull?
Well, that's where it gets truly interesting. Let's think about one of the biggest triggers for those emotional fluctuations: human relationships.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The sources highlight how our interactions with others, what they say, how they act, their expectations, our disappointments. They're just constant inputs that can instantly send our feelings, well, spiraling.
Totally relatable.
Yeah.
Someone does something or says something, and boom, suddenly you're just feeling it, right?
Yeah.
It feels like the event is the emotion.
It really does feel that way. But here's a core insight highlighted straight from the Stoic wisdom in these sources, and it's critical.
Right.
The emotion often doesn't spring directly from the event itself. It comes from how we interpret that event.
Ah, okay. That distinction feels really important. So it's not the thing that happened. It's the story I tell myself about the thing that happened. Is that it?
Precisely. In the Stoic view presented here, events themselves are neutral. They just are.
Neutral.
They carry no inherent meaning. The meaning is something we layer onto them. And that power, the power to assign meaning, to interpret, it's described as this profound form of freedom we always possess.
Right. So if someone hurts you, for example, the sources point out you're not just a passive recipient of that hurt.
No.
You have an active choice in how you process it. You can choose the path of anger or resentment.
Which is often the default, maybe.
Or you could choose to interpret it differently, perhaps as, I don't know, an opportunity to practice calmness, or maybe just to set a clearer boundary next time.
It completely shifts the battlefield, doesn't it? From the external event to your internal world.
Yeah.
And while we can't always control the initial arrival of an emotion triggered by something outside us.
Right, that first wave hits you.
Exactly. But we have immense power in how we choose to respond to that feeling once it arrives.
And this is where the famous Stoic practice comes in, the dichotomy of control,
Yeah.
focusing only on what's within your power.
Exactly that. And the sources provide some really practical examples, which I like.
Good. Like what?
Okay, so when you feel an anger surge, you don't have to act on it immediately, right? You can choose to channel that energy elsewhere, maybe, writing down your thoughts instead of exploding. Or when you feel offended by something, instead of reacting impulsively, you can train yourself to simply observe that feeling, like watching a scene unfold in a play.
Create some distance.
Exactly, distance between the feeling and your action. Or if you feel humiliated or wronged, instead of just spiraling, you can deliberately ask yourself, is there a lesson here? Is this a moment I can actually learn from?
These practices, they don't sound like stuffing down emotion or denying it.
Not at all.
They sound more like creating space around the emotion, giving yourself a moment.
That's the key takeaway, I think. These techniques give reason, our conscious mind, more time to step in.
Right.
They help you move from being tossed around by the emotional wave to consciously walking through it. You acknowledge the feeling is there, it's present, but you are not its prisoner.
Yeah, you're not just swept away.
It boils down to that core principle from the sources. Ruthlessly focus your energy on what you can control, your interpretation, your response, your own actions.
Your sphere.
Yes. And consciously release your grip on what you cannot, as if that other people's behavior, external needs, the past, all that stuff.
Now, thinking about facing those challenges you can't control, that external stuff, that's where we see this powerful overlap with Nassim Taleb's idea of antifragility.
Right. Yes. Antifragility. It's such a great concept. It isn't just resilience, it's like, bouncing back to where you were.
Right. Not just getting back to normal.
It describes systems that actually get stronger from stress, from chaos, from volatility. They actually benefit from disorder.
Okay. Benefit from it. And how do the sources bridge that to our emotional lives? How does that work?
Well, the parallel they draw is quite profound, really. The more chaos, the more difficulty or emotional stress you face, the more potential you actually have to develop deeper emotional resilience and strength. That's not about, seeking out pain or anything, but about recognizing that the tough times contain the very ingredients needed for growth. And it's a big if you engage with them in a specific way.
This sounds very much like the Stoic approach to challenges, doesn't it?
It really does. The sources link it directly to Seneca's idea of a kind of moral accounting.
Moral accounting.
Yeah. Difficulties, hardships, even malicious actions from other people. They aren't just random bad luck in this view. They can be seen as opportunities.
Opportunities, huh?
Tests for your character, chances to practice virtue. He apparently saw them as a return in virtue.
A return in virtue. Wow.
Any ease or kindness you encounter along the way, well, that's just a bonus.
Okay, so instead of just trying to endure the storm or survive it.
Right. White-knuckling it.
You're looking at how the storm itself can actually, temper and strengthen you. But how do you practically harness that idea? How do you grow stronger from these emotional storms?
This brings us right to the Stoic emphasis on virtue. But again, not virtue as some unattainable perfection or just a list of rules you follow.
Okay, not like a checklist.
No. The sources describe it as a continuous practice. Every time you choose to act in alignment with your deepest values, things like honesty, courage, justice, wisdom.
Your core principles.
Exactly. Every time you do that, you are practicing virtue. And this consistent practice, these small daily choices, they gradually build a much more stable, lasting sense of satisfaction and a deeper kind of joy.
So it's less about chasing those peak happy moments, those highs.
Which tend to fade anyway, right? Back to the set point.
Right. And it's more about building a steady internal strength, like a foundation.
Precisely. The sources give some great examples of this. Like when you face a difficult conversation with honesty, even if it's hard, you are actively nurturing the virtue of honesty within yourself.
Okay. Makes sense.
When you choose restraint and silence over lashing out in anger, maybe you're letting temperance bloom.
Temperance, right.
And when you feel fear but still step forward to do the right thing, whatever that might be for you, you are harvesting the fruit of courage.
Harvesting courage. I like that metaphor.
And this practice, this constant effort toward alignment with your values, that's what creates that deeper, more stable feeling, according to these sources.
So the feeling comes from the practice.
That sense of internal alignment itself becomes a powerful source of emotional energy. It's not the fleeting excitement or pleasure that, hedonic adaptation tends to pull back down.
It's different.
It's a steady, fundamental sense of well-being. The sources argue this deeper joy is what actually shapes and elevates your emotional baseline over time.
So it influences the set point itself.
That seems to be the idea. The Stoic perspective isn't about denying joy. It's about understanding its true sustainable source. It emerges naturally from alignment when your actions, your feelings, and your deepest beliefs are all kind of moving together.
Okay, so circling back then to that initial question about optimizing the emotional set point. Maybe it's not about trying to manipulate your feelings directly or trying to force happiness like, I must be happy now.
Right, which usually backfires anyway.
Yeah. But it's more about consistently building this internal integrity through deliberate practice, through these virtuous actions.
Day by day.
Which then naturally influences where your baseline settles.
Mhm.
More stable,
Yeah.
maybe a bit higher.
That seems to be the powerful synthesis offered by the sources, yeah. You cannot control the external world or the initial emotional trigger that hits you.
No control there.
But the control you do have over your internal landscape, your perspective,
Yeah.
your chosen response, your dedication to aligning your actions with your values, that power is immense.
It feels more empowering.
It allows you to not just weather the storm, but maybe actually become stronger because of it.
Okay, so this journey through the sources.
Mm.
We've covered understanding our brain's natural emotional pull, that set point idea.
Hedonic adaptation, yeah.
The surprising power we have in interpreting events, not just reacting to them.
The freedom in interpretation.
The freedom found in choosing our response rather than reacting automatically, using that dichotomy of control. The potential for profound growth unlocked by facing difficulty head-on. That antifragility link.
Growing from chaos.
And finally, this deep, stable joy that comes not from seeking pleasure, but from consistently living in alignment with our values. Practicing virtue.
It's a really coherent framework when you pull it all together. It empowers you, I think. While the external world will continue to be unpredictable and, throw curveballs,
Always will.
the internal resources we can cultivate are entirely within our reach.
Yeah. And the sources, they kind of leave us with this compelling final thought, something to sit with.
Oh.
If we can choose how to become better within the storm. I like that phrasing. Not just stay grounded, but actually find a way to grow fruit from within it.
Grow fruit from the storm.
Then the question becomes, what specific challenge are you facing in your life today, right now, that you could choose to approach differently? Not just as a problem to survive, but maybe as an opportunity for growth and alignment.
That's a powerful question to end on. Food for thought.